That was actually probably the thing that interests me the most about you, was the fact that you obviously play music, play the guitar, and you sing as well.
No,
You don't sing.
no. My partner sings.
Your partner sings. Okay. So what got you into music? I mean, did you grow up with parents, being interested?
No. I got into music. I've always loved music. I can't, because I can't deal in silence. I can't work in silence. I can't think in silence. I can't even sleep in silence. I think also it's just growing up in a township, it was constantly loud. And there were like 3 taverns in our street alone. You get me? So it was always music playing, different kinds of music as well. And also my gran owned a bottle store. Like the house we lived in was a bottle store, so she always had music playing. But my gran was also in the industry, so we had like musicians and actors. Like we had a lot of like celebrities.
What was her role in the industry?
She started off as a makeup artist. She did as a makeup artist, then went into wardrobe, then went into acting. No. She started off as an actor because she was on Ipintombi. It was a big famous musical, theater musical back in I think the 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always grew up hearing music all around, different kinds of music from house to kwaito. She was a big like jazz and soul fan.
I heard your music coming in as well.
Oh yeah. So she always loved that. So we're talking like anything from Bill Withers to Gladys Knight, James Brown. She was a huge fan of James Brown, Al Green, Booker T and the Onions, those kind of stuff, So I always just heard that. And then playing music, that didn't start until I grew up with a single parent. I was raised just by my mom and my gran. So I had both parents, which is my
your
mom and
mom's
gran.
mom.
Yes, that's it. Right, no male influence in my life, no brothers, uncles, or anything of the sort. So my mom and I'm very close with my mom. Very, very close. So I remember we used to do these things like twice a month where we go on like mother-son dates.
Okay.
On this particular date, we went to go watch Freaky Friday, the Lindsay Lohan one.
Yeah.
That
that door. I just want to close this door quick. Yeah, Freaky Friday, bro. I remember that movie.
This was an awesome movie,
Yeah.
right? So I remember we went to go watch Freaky Friday, and that was my earliest and if not first introduction to like rock music, rock, punk, any world of rock was that. And I remember just loving it. I never heard of anything like this. I'm just a kid who had grown up in a township, so I know there was such a thing as rock music, but somehow it made sense. It elicited a feeling in me. And I remember the final scene where Lindsay was still in her mom's body and her mom was in her body at the Battle of the Bands, where Lindsay, as the mom, plays the guitar solo from the wings of the stage. I kid you not, hearing that completely changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. Just the sound of a guitar. I remember she slid into the guitar solo, and I nudged my mom and I was like, Mom, what was that?
How old are you?
I think I was like 9. No, earlier. I was like 8, 9, somewhere there. I was like, what is that? I want to learn that. I want to know that. And then I started listening to rock music. I started listening to 94.7 quite a lot. Started listening to, what was this, 5FM? And this was the time where the stations, they were very distinct in what they were playing, where you knew what you got from Metro, YFM. So most of the alternative indie and rock music was 94.7 and 5FM. Started listening to all of those and then found bands this side all the way from the Parlotones to Prime Circle, Seether, all that jazz, and I just fell in love with it. And then I think I only discovered rock and roll because at the time that was still modern rock music. So I fell in love with, these are the early 2000s now. So the guys that we all listened to was your Green Days, your Avril Lavigne, Linkin Park, Blink 182, those kind of things. Limp Bizkit at some point.
Yeah.
And then obviously went through my emo stage as well. Really loved my emo phase. And then Varsity, the girl I was dating at the time, introduced me to Nirvana. And that's when I started tracking back and working my way back. And then she introduced me to Zeppelin. And I remember hearing Zeppelin for the first time. And I think something in me had changed, because now this was now rock music that had a deeper meaning, as opposed to like your modern day
Yes.
rock, in my opinion. It was rock music that had a deeper meaning, that had history to it, and of a sense of a poetic art, if I may, and the more I dove into it, listening to Zeppelin, Aerosmith,
Black
ZZ Top
Sabbath.
and all that jazz. Yes, they kept speaking, when you watch their interviews, they'd always speak about this whole, like, yeah, we influenced by the blues. We wouldn't have this if it wasn't the blues, and blues this and blues that and blues that. And it's like, what is this? Who are these guys, these B.B. King and Eric Claptons that they keep speaking of? And then that's when I found the blues. So I found the blues around, I was post-varsity, about 2015.
Okay.
2015.
Had you been playing at this point?
Oh, I haven't even started learning
You hadn't
yet.
even started,
No.
okay.
No. Funny fact is that after Freaky Friday, I remember, because it was for my 10th birthday, I asked my parents, I asked them for a guitar, and they bought me, oh good gosh, the shittiest secondhand pawn shop guitar you could think of. It only had 3 strings. It didn't have the full bridge as well. So I had to work with these strings. They bought it from Crash Crusaders.
Okay, yeah.
And I pretty much spent the rest of the next decade and a half air guitaring with an actual guitar, because I had no idea what I was playing, and I was just fucking around with it. It was never in tune, because I didn't know things needed to be in tune. And I'd just mess around with it and always wonder why I don't sound like the guys that I'm watching. But I loved it because it looked cool. It was only post-varsity when my ex gave me her guitar and forced me to start learning how to play. Because I've been putting it off the entire time. Would go to rock shows and I'd be so in awe watching the guitar. I wouldn't even watch the entire show. I'm just constantly watching the guitarist, and I'd be in so much awe of like what they're doing. And then I started learning. The first song I learned on the guitar was, have you seen a Tarantino film called Hateful Eight?
Yeah.
Yes, the scene with Daisy when she plays the guitar. She
Yes,
sings
yes.
Bethany Bay.
That's one thing about Quentin's movies. He always uses music so well.
Yeah.
The songs that he uses, I mean, the music in Kill Bill, like the music that he uses in Django Unchained, like all of those movies, the music just makes and sets the scene so well.
He's a big fan of music.
Yeah.
He's a big fan. There was one interview of his that I had watched where he speaks about how sometimes he'd have a playlist of the film that he's going to shoot before the film itself. He'd write the film and already know where the film is going, and then start comprising a playlist of all the music he wants within that film. So you already thought of the music. And when you watch Tarantino's films, you can see there's a through line thread in terms of like the music genre and style of the film. And he's a big fan of what's known as like surf rock, rockabilly. So like that's rock from like the 1950s to like mid 60s to the 70s. Big fan of those kind of stuff. So yeah, it was Bethany Bay from Hateful Eight. That was the first song I learned how to play on the guitar. And at the time, as much as I was a big fan of rock music, I actually bought my first guitar that I bought with my own money was a classical guitar, because I wanted to be a classical player because of Desperado, Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek. Yes. So I wanted to be a classical player. So from about 2018, actually just 2018 alone, I was just learning classical compositions, particularly Spanish classical compositions is all I was playing. And then I only actually started learning how to play the guitar mid 2019 until to date, self-taught.
Sure.
And that's a long story of how pretty much I got into music and started playing.
Why do you feel, or at least let's say when you were still in the township, how was you going more towards whiter music received within the other people? Were they like, what are you doing? Try to stick with our music, or was there any like kickback that you experienced?
Nah, we moved out of Soweto. So I grew up in Orlando East, Soweto. My family moved out of there when I was 7 years old, right? And then we moved to a small, very small Afrikaans town called Western Area in the West Rand, not too far from Krugersdorp. We went there, and I think the time we moved there was like, in my little neighborhood, there was like 3, if not 4 black families. This is now the year 2000. There were like 3, if not 4 black families around. And so I didn't really experience that much from the Soweto side. But we still had the house back in Soweto and would go visit every now and again.
Well, I only asked that because obviously that would have been, just post-apartheid almost, when you were getting into music. And, you would have probably been like 4 or 5 years old, like 94-ish.
I was born 94.
94. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're born just into,
Yes.
the newer South Africa. But also then obviously I would assume that it would have been still, because you mentioned movies as well. So I'm sure that was also a big part of, maybe growing up without a father, is being able to go with your mom and watch movies. And I'm sure even till this day, you really love movies because it kind of makes you feel like a kid watching it again, with your mom or with your gran.
Yeah. So from then, even now, it doesn't even matter whether it's we in township, we're talking about how it is as me listening to rock music or speaking the way I do, whether I'm in the township or in the suburbs or wherever. There's this thing, and I'm glad you actually mentioned it the way you did, in the sense of like white music when referring to rock, because that's the perception of it.
Well, at
And
least, obviously, since then, different story. But I mean,
No, but even right now.
Okay.
So here's a fun fact. So like myself and my mates, we're a blues band in South Africa, right? We're a blues band this side, and it's interesting the comments that we receive when playing shows. So firstly, predominantly 90, if not 95% of our audiences and fan base are white.
Okay.
1. 2, the comments that we receive, and I know it doesn't come from a racist point of view, or it doesn't come from a malicious or negative thing, but it's interesting when you now start looking at the dialogue that is being used when you're speaking to us, as to, it's so refreshing to see black people or young black boys playing the blues, and you look at it in this country that, yes, we don't have many black blues players in South Africa. That is, but why it's refreshing to have black people playing it, I don't understand. The big blues bands and blues musicians in the country are white. The audiences that are following the blues and supporting the blues or rock and roll or your alternative spaces are predominantly white. But it's not to say that a certain section or sector of art or music belongs to one group or the other.
Absolutely.
You get me?
Yeah. But if you look at hip hop and rap, I would definitely say, just in terms of the statistics, people like black culture is way better at hip hop and rap than white culture. Yes, you got the exclusion, like the anomalies like Eminem and Macklemore and like those whiter guys doing it very well. But who does rap better? I mean, how many white rappers are there that are as successful as people of color that do rap? So there's, sorry?
Many.
No, but that are as successful. If you look at the top hip hop artists, it's predominantly black. But in terms of rock and everything, you can still have people of color. But I think hip hop is done better by people of color.
Define better. How do we say that someone
more.
does something better?
There's more famous black hip hop artists than white hip hop artists.
Yes and no. Because now also we're talking right now, right?
Yeah.
We're talking it as we sit here in the year 2024.
Yeah.
Right now, it's almost the scales are almost matched.
Okay.
As to which racial group or ethnic group is doing more in the hip hop space. If you want to look at the hip hop space, yes, it is something that started with the black culture. There is a certain culture and tradition that is linked to hip hop that is to black people, right? But it's not to say they're the only people that can.
No.
It.
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying the only people that can, but I'm saying.
But who's doing it better? I won't say it's, let's say black people are doing it better.
Yeah.
They're doing it differently.
Yeah. Okay.
Not better.
Do you
I
think
try
maybe,
to,
okay, so maybe I need to reframe, is maybe people of color supporting more people of color? So, the black community getting behind black artists. Whereas, because in general times, well, previously, people of color were oppressed, right? In every country, pretty much. America especially, South Africa especially. I mean, all the artists we would say are mainly famous from the US. They will support someone of color. Whereas if a white artist is really good, yes, people of color will support a white artist. But because it's, okay, you've made it, I'm going to support you. Whereas white culture isn't like that. So you can correct me if I'm wrong in terms of black supporting black, because it's like, I want you to succeed, I want you to do well. Whereas white culture, it's kind of just like, I don't want you to do better than me. Obviously, you get this, a lot of people that do support regardless, but in white culture, they might be more apprehensive to support.
that'll be a difficult one for me to answer or talk back to, because I mean, I'll also speak from a place of ignorance that I don't know how things are on the other side of the spectrum within the white culture. So I can't speak back to that. And in that same breath, I can only, as far as speaking from a black point of view, I can only speak it. I'll also speak bias because I'm going to speak of it from my point of view. You get me?
Well, from your point of view, what you've experienced, because it's your opinion, that doesn't mean it's fact.
When it comes to the support, let's call it the support culture of the industry, right? The whole race thing, it's an easy one to start pointing fingers at, to say that these people support these people better than these people, or that whatever the case might be. And for me, I think it boils down to more infrastructure. The infrastructure of the industry that you're finding yourself in, where those resources are being taken, or where they're mostly being used, to what kind of artists. You get me? Look at festivals, for example, and how much backing or how much money and resources is being put more to more established bands as opposed to more up-and-coming bands. In our country right now, it's tough for an up-and-coming band, regardless of how great they are. And the underground space has such talented music. And then you look at it look at the underground space or up and coming artists in our industry, as opposed to how they're supported, or how the infrastructure is in the UK. Because the underground world, the underground art world in the UK is much bigger than what it is here. Look at the Boiler Room, for example. You get me? When the kind of music that is being played there, the kind of artists that it's very unorthodox, the art that you are experiencing there, because it's not something that it can be sold or commercialized to everybody else, because it's a different palette.
Yeah,
if
I may. It's almost better to stay underground. They almost want to be underground.
But there's an infrastructure for that kind
the underground
of palette. There is there's an infrastructure and things that were put in place for that to have a support and a fan base. Whereas here, you are commercial or you aren't. And trying to break into the commercial space, it becomes how then are you an artist? That how are we going to sell you? You get me? In the country right now, amapiano music is completely taken over South Africa, completely. And the backing and the support that it is receiving, as opposed to hip hop, as much as hip hop is also like quite up there. And then you look at now your alternative space, which is a much smaller now group of like your rock bands, your folk bands, your indie bands and stuff. Those festivals and those shows are nowhere close to as big as what amapiano and hip hop can. What rock act, regardless, even our biggest act, can single-handedly, or even just a festival, a rock festival, can fill up any stadium in this country. Which one? But a hip hop show, they do that easily and constantly. It's an infrastructure thing rather than, because now even in those hip hop things and those amapiano things, bro, we live in now a beautiful time where all races are everywhere. Now, it's not a black thing or a white thing and stuff. We have white people listening to Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. and jamming to the teens right now, 13 years old, 10 years old, bumping Biggie. and hip hop. It is we in a beautiful mixture of culture and art and all that stuff. You go to places like Malville, Maboneng, Braamfontein, where it's just a nice, beautiful mixture of all those things. So it's more an infrastructure thing and how things are being sold or monetized to the or given to the audience than it is about racial groups trying to be there for each other.
So then, what type of places are you playing? Like, what are the underground? Like, where are your gigs? And like, how many people are there? So, how do you have like a manager that helps you? Obviously, I mean, it's the music industry. You need to have connections. You need to have all of that, and you need to navigate that lack of infrastructure almost to make it to the top.
Places that we played, it varies. It varies. We go from music festivals to lineups and shows at music venues, music events, to starting to curate our own personal shows. Because now there's also a certain kind of experience we personally, as Max and Love, would love to give to our audiences. Both of myself and my partner, Love, we're both, as much as we're musicians, we're also actors, day job. All right. And we come from a theater background. We have heavy influences from theater because we come from a theater background before moving into film and television. So our shows are rather theatrical and dramatic, if I may. And we like to curate a very unique experience for our audiences. And sometimes those experiences, it becomes a bit tricky to put that kind of experience on at a festival in the middle of a lineup, especially when you look at the turnaround time between bands and how quickly you have to be on stage, set up, and then start playing.
That experience that you give your audience, was it you guys just being yourselves and then you realized, okay, we actually have something unique to offer? Or was it in the start, we need something unique to offer, let's be ourselves?
Oh, it was from the get-go. So the start of Max and Love... this is another beautiful story. We never sought out to start the band at all. We're fresh out of lockdown. I think this is 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Shows were starting to now slowly come back, where people are feeling comfortable to start going to places where they can watch live music or where they can just be at an event, right? There's this place called Railways Cafe in Irene, in Pretoria. And there was this group that did an open mic, and you had to sign up for that. So firstly, I've always wanted to go to Railway. I've never been to Railways at the time. I'd never been to Railways, but I've seen the Instagram and I've been interested in that stuff. So I asked my friend that hey, I play guitar, he sings, and we had already started doing these little covers on Instagram just for me to start learning more how to play guitar. Because majority of my learning to play guitar, as much as I started mid-2019, majority of my learning happened during lockdown. When I was at home, it was me and the University of YouTube learning how to play.
The best place.
Right?
Yeah.
So I signed up. So I asked him, would he be keen for us to just go there? We'll put together a few songs, just covers, and just go play there, because we haven't been on a stage in front of an audience in so long. So he's like, yeah, cool, let's do that. I called the guys up, and then we got a slot. The day before we were supposed to go to play there, he gives me a call. He was actually on his way to my place for rehearsals. He gives me a call. He was busy on an ad for KFC. I was in the middle of a 3-day shoot for KFC. The day he was supposed to come to my place for rehearsals, he gives me a call to say he just got a call from the producers to say the guy that he was one of his co-actors that he was acting alongside with had just tested positive for COVID. The previous day, he was on set with this gentleman. So now he needs to go immediately into self-isolation. So this is 2021. So we still all kind of on edge whenever I hear anything as to you were in contact with someone with COVID. So he had to turn around on his way to my place, turn around and go back. But he's like, dude, but go, still go play guitar. And I was like, no. So I've also never been in front of an audience playing the guitar before, by the way. At this point, I've never played guitar in front of the audience. I was just a bedroom guitarist. He still forced me to go. I was like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. And then I remember my ex went with me to that show, and she also kind of spoke to me. And she's like, bro, you've got nothing to lose. Just go play what you know. Either way, you play the blues, and I know a lot of blues tunes without vocals, because I'm just gonna play guitar because I can't sing. So being the performer that I am, I put together a 15-minute show Me playing a guitar, I put together a composition, me playing a guitar, and I told her, and I monologued throughout the entire show while playing the guitar, and I told a story of the wayfaring gravedigger, the traveling gravedigger.
Okay.
Told the story of this traveling man who left the town that he was in because he felt there was nothing. His hopes and dreams were going to die in the town that he's, especially coming from a small town, and he left with nothing but the clothes on his back, stepped onto a train, and then went out to go find what life had to
Did you
experience.
just plan this
I wrote everything.
on the way to the event, or once
No,
you
no, this was
arrived?
the day before. This was the day before
okay.
that he had called me before
right,
rehearsal. So I had to rethink the entire show. So I wrote down this entire story. So it became a 15-minute performance of me playing, and I monologue and told the story of this man and how he came across love and he lost love and he had hope and he met an old man who told him a story about love and the blues and all this jazz. And I performed that at the show, and they loved it. Nobody had seen anything like that before. And the organizers of that open mic invited me to come and headline a show that they did at Folkoff Bar. Yes, the name of this is Bar Acoustics. Bar Acoustic, done by Nicola and her boyfriend, Jeandre. Yes.
Okay.
Bar Acoustic. And they're another foundation that is doing the most in helping up-and-coming bands and up-and-coming artists. And they're doing great, great work. So they invited me to come and headline at a show at an event they were doing at Folkoff Bar. I think 2 weeks later. So I told them like, hey, I was supposed to come here with someone who's an incredible singer, and we should do it together. And they were like, no, we want you. We want you to do what you did. We want that story. That is the authentic blues. We want you to. And I was like, but you don't understand his voice, man. His voice is something else. He needs to be there. And it was 2 days of a back and forth of me trying to convince them that I'm not alone. I'm not supposed to be alone. I have someone who tells the story or who is on this journey with me. Eventually, they agreed to say, cool, bring him with. We had a week to put together a show. I think in that week, we put together a 60-minute show with, I think, two original songs that we wrote. We went, we played it. We just wanted to play the show, and that's that. We are not starting a band. We are not a band. He comes from a soul and pop background, right? His influences range from Prince to Michael Jackson, James Brown, all the works, And then you have me, who's like a full-on blues man from Muddy Waters, Lightning Hopkins, to hard rock and roll, from Zeppelin to Sabbath and the works. So we're very different. We play the show. After playing the show, somehow the owner of Snatch 32, a gentleman by the name of Rory, saw our videos that were just put up on Instagram. He gives us a call and asks us if we can come in for a meeting the following day or like the week of. We go through to Rory and he's like, yo, listen, love what you boys are doing. Tell me your story. We tell him what's going on. He's like, yeah, so I sent your videos to Sipho Hot Sticks Mabuza, and he has a show here in 2 weeks. He wants you guys to open for him. Dude, shut up. Shut your beautiful face. No. We weren't even a band at this point. So this has been a week of Max and Love. And the man tells us like, yeah, Sipho Hot Sticks, the Sipho Hot Sticks Mabuza wants you guys to open for him in 2 weeks. Like, we're not a band. Again, rather pick someone who like a band that can actually relish and milk and use this opportunity to go to the next step. We weren't looking on doing anything. It's like, yeah, well, I think you guys should. At the time while we're sitting there was a poster of Dan Podlansky. He's a phenomenal blues guitarist. My absolute role model as far as the guitarists in this country are concerned. He was playing at that same venue the weekend of. And I was like, can you get us to open for him? Shit you not. He picks up his phone. He calls Dan Podlansky, tells him like, yeah, I'm sitting with these two boys and they're like a great, great blues band. I think they should open for you. Dan is like, send me a video and then I'll let you know. Sends him a video and he's like, yeah, we had 4 days to put together an opening show for Dan Podlansky.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, we played for Sipho Hot Sticks Mabuza. Literally after that, I think him and I looked at each other and like, yeah, bro, I think we're a band.
Everything's going so well. How can we not be?
Let's do it. And then we ended up just like biting the bullet and starting Max and Love. neither of us could have seen us doing this together. Yes, we've been mates since varsity. We met in 2013 at AVDA. We went to a film school. And that was then the beginning of Max and Love and the blues journey that we had found ourselves in.
And now, what's that? Now you're 3 years in.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 years in. How's it going?
It's great.
Loving it.
It's been amazing. We just signed with Just Music. We started recording our debut album in November with a phenomenal producer by the name of Matthew Fink. We wrapped up the recording phase of that album in about mid-January. So it started November, December, mid-January. So right now it's in its mixing and mastering phase. And we're pretty excited for this album.
Do you have a date that you want to release it?
Sometime in April.
Okay.
Is what I can say for now. Yeah.
Where will it be like released on Spotify?
Everything, everywhere. And immediately after that, we're taking that album on the road.
Where would you go? Where are the places in South Africa that you really want to, other than obviously like events and stuff? Like where would you want to go other than festivals and that kind of stuff? Like where's your idea? Obviously, I mean, everyone wants to do a stadium. You want to do a stadium, but like now with this, in this year, releasing this album, where would you like to play?
In South Africa or the world?
Yeah, South Africa.
Where would we like to play?
Even if it's like a city, even if it's just like I want to play in Cape Town. Or,
I mean, shit, we've had a good time in Cape Town. We did a Cape Town, we did a very brief Cape Town tour last year, November. But we went we didn't take a full band so sometimes we mix things up depending on, because Max and Love is just the two of us, voice and guitar. Then depending on the show that we're playing, we bring in session musicians to help us out, whether we need a full setup of a band or intimate or whatever the case might be. So it was myself, Love, and a cellist by the name of Juliet Love, who joined us for this Cape Town, for the Cape Town leg of the tour. That was our first time playing in Cape Town, and the response we got was phenomenal. Cape Town has some really incredible venues, really incredible. And people in Cape Town support the arts across the board, from whatever, everyone has their own little, from like museum art to actual art, to music, however, the genre and all that jazz. There's always something happening from Monday to Sunday. There's always some form of event taking place in Cape Town, which I think is a beautiful thing. And it's something that Joburg can start, doing, because things kind of only start picking up in Joburg from like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sundays things calm down. But Monday, Tuesdays, there's a bit of a lull that takes place in Joburg. The number of venues in Joburg is also like, we could do with more, but I understand why places open up and close down, because again, it's a support thing. You need audiences and people and customers to keep these businesses or to keep this industry alive. But a place would love to play. I'd love to play in Cape Town again. Specific venue I'd love to visit is a venue by the name of Daisy Jones Bards in Stellenbosch. It's a live music venue literally in a barn. In an actual barn. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'd love to play there. I'd love to play at the Music Kitchen. That's in, please guys don't hate me if I'm wrong in this. I think it's in Gqeberha.
Okay.
The Music Kitchen is in Gqeberha. I would love to play at any venue in Observatory in Cape Town. And then what else? Yeah, that's it. Every other venue I've dreamt of playing, we've already played. We've had the good fortune. Like Max and Love success happened very quickly. In our first year, we had played almost all the major music festivals that we have in the country.
Amazing.
In just our first year alone, which is almost unheard of for a band that's been around for less than a year to already get a slot or a lineup in such bands with such incredible artists and other bands and musicians. And we also got to learn from them, and we also got to tour with some of my favorite blues musicians and blues guitarists as well. So we've had good fortune, but I wouldn't say also it's not luck. It really isn't a luck thing that we're at the right place at the right time. It's just what people deem as luck is that they also forget to see all the work that was put in before that. Granted, we never looked sought out to start the band, but Love did he's put in his hours. You know how they say it takes 10,000 hours to master your craft. He's put in his hours in his individual capacity, as have I in my individual capacity. And it was just a matter of time for the stars to align, for things to happen, so that when opportunity does strike, you actually are ready to take it and milk it for everything that it is worth. Yeah.
You obviously are exceptionally passionate about music, and your other interests: trail running, motorbikes. What would you say you're most passionate about? Would it be the music? Would it be exercise? For you, yourself, acting. What's obviously it's difficult to choose at times because you go through different phases in your life.
That's
as
the
well.
thing.
Yeah.
Also, I can't. I'll say this: I can't put anything above the other. I wouldn't. All of them give me life. They give me a sense of life. They help me a lot somehow make sense of the world, what I am, who I am, and most especially the way I feel. I always grew up a loner. It's been my life. Hence, even with trail running, like trail running, as much as you can go out on runs with your mates or you're in a race and all that jazz. Majority of trail running, it's you. It's you, your mind, your thoughts, your heart, your body, and how you are feeling. And it's a beautiful thing being in isolation out in the mountains and out in the trails.
Stunning.
It's the same thing with playing guitar. Me being on a motorbike is also no difference, because again, it's you alone on the bike, on the road, with the wind against your fists. And, so I think the through line in all of these things is that I relish in things that I can enjoy and do in isolation. Things that help me, like that quiet my mind a little bit, because my mind is constantly chattering to a point where, as you've noticed in the discussion right now, sometimes it's difficult to pick up my words because my mind is running faster than my mouth can produce words to take out. Trail running, music, acting, it's all the same. It's all the same to me, and they all feed one another. The amount of times I've come up with melodies for our songs while I'm out in the trails, because then you're quiet, and you just there's something,
and you're not actively sitting there trying to think of it. And when you're
that's
in that
the difficulty
Yeah.
when you're trying to force creativity. There's no more. I think the most beautiful sound is the sound of your cadence on trails. That sound when you're running.
dirt
on the trail.
underfoot,
oh my
bro.
goodness,
Yeah.
that is a beautiful thing. And there's a song we have that was actually inspired by the sound of my cadence on, like as in my foot strike on the dirt. So that it helps that my training helps my acting. It keeps my body in the shape that it is in, for me to be the performer that I am. I come from a physical theater background, so I'm used to like working on my body. So all of them pretty much just they all feed one another, and I feel like that's a beautiful place and space to be in, when all the different aspects of your life somehow are able to find a harmonious coherency with one another, that nothing exists as this is my work life and then this is my personal life and this is like my active life or whatever, that when you get home you want to disconnect from your work, like you just want to forget about it, you want to like lay down and disconnect and relax and stuff. I can't disconnect from my work, because the art that I produce all comes from emotion and it comes from feeling. Me acting, I have to engage with my emotions. I have to engage with my feelings, depending on the scene that we are shooting. So the unfortunate thing is that artists don't have the luxury of disconnecting from their work, even from rappers to majors to actors and stuff. We're constantly always having to deal with this little heart thing in our brains all the time. We're always inspired by everything around us. Looking at you or hearing your story will get me thinking and reflecting upon myself, and that might inspire thought of a song, a poet, a painting, a sculptor. You get me? So we're never able to disconnect. So the only way to not somehow descend into into insanity is to find balance within all of them. That how can then all those different facets somehow communicate with one another? And I found like I believe I found a beautiful way for everything to exist within this thing, within its world.
And I think it's a big thing for people to understand and to see that creativity doesn't have to be the conventional sense of art or even music or, painting, any of that stuff. And I wish people could find a creative, because every single person on earth is creative in a particular way that is unique to them.
Absolutely.
And if people can find a way to pursue a career through their means of creativity, I think would have a large degree of society being a lot happier, because people are able to express themselves, make money in a career through it, but then be able to have that outlet to be creative. Because you can, with your passion, if your passion is ice skating, or let's say, silly example, you should be able to in some way, let's say it's making boots, and you do custom designs, and it's some way to have a creative outlet through your passion for ice skating. I've got a passion for business, and I've used my creativity of, okay, well, also I love cameras, I love film, I love TV. How can I, use or explore my interest in business, explore my interest in video, explore my interest in learning about people and dealing with people in a way that expresses my creativity and then also pays the bills. And I think it's difficult in a society to be able to do that, because also through school, it's kind of, get the marks, go to university, get the degree, get a safe job so that you safeguard yourself. Whereas there's no reign, sometimes there's no freedom to be able to express yourself, because the most successful people in life are expressing themselves in a creative way.
I think we now find ourselves in a beautiful age where you're actually able to make a living from passion. Let's call it passion, and you touched on it where you spoke about growing up, coming from school, where it's almost like your life is mapped out, or the ingredients to success.
Yeah, like a skeleton at least. It might be a bit different.
Yeah, primary school, high school, university, get your degree, get your internship or whatever that might be, and then get your job, and then somehow still work your way up the ranks in that job. And then we call that a career of doing the same thing for the next 40 to 50 years, if you're lucky to be doing it for that long, But now with technology and the internet, the kids now are far advanced. These, what do we call them? Gen Z.
I don't even know. I think how old are you?
I'm 29.
Yeah, I think we're Gen Z.
No, we're millennials.
Oh, we are. That's true.
Millennials,
That's true.
I think it's from
I was 96,
80,
so I'm also
yeah.
millennial.
It's from 80 something.
99, I think.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But you're after 2000.
To 2000, these kids are, besides the high level of self-entitlement that these kids possessed, they have every resources to their exposure, to their hands, and they're doing great things. We have millionaires now where kids are making millions from playing games.
Yeah, without even leaving their room.
Online. Kids are making money now from podcasts that they're doing in their mother's garages. They're doing all sorts of things on the internet, and they're able to feed themselves and their family, the ones that do. That YouTube channels now are growing. We have a bunch of, I have a 13-year-old little brother and a 16-year-old little sister who are constantly on YouTube following other teens just pranking their parents or just talking about shit or doing shit. And these kids have more than 1 million subscribers on their YouTube, and they're making money out of that. There's all kinds of weird services now that are around. There's one friend of mine who I learned there's a business, there's people who have businesses of wearing in shoes for other people.
Interesting.
That you no longer have to go through the whole bane of, especially when you're buying formal shoes or even running shoes, that they'll wear them for the first week and go run in them, or wear those formal shoes to just wear them in so that by the time you get them, they're nice, comfortable shoes now. People have successful businesses doing that. So, we live in such a beautiful generation where You can literally do anything and make money off of it. Look at OnlyFans might be a very controversial one topic to get into, but also it's not all just people doing porn to be paid for. There's also other weird things of people just asking for sock pictures or toe pictures or a fingernail or let me see your earlobe. Those kind of things where now you have girls and guys making money off of people asking them, send me your dirty socks. How, besides the creepiness of it, but the greater picture is just how beautiful is it to live in a time where you can make money from doing anything, even things that you didn't think you could make money off of, like the whole wearing of the shoes. Do you understand that a person not working or a person lacking motivation or inspiration, whatever it might be, is that you're not thinking out like far enough. You get me? We're not. It is to our own detriment that we are suffering, not to that of the world.
Do you think it's because the world hasn't really adapted in the mindset the same way at the speed and rate that technology's gone? Because the technology and the ability to make the money in these weird outlets and everything has advanced so quickly. I mean, look at the last 10 years. How many different ways you can make money. Whereas the mindset of the people maybe hasn't caught up to that, because you still have the influence of your parents who maybe don't understand the technology, or you have the influence of your friends that maybe aren't into technology as much or have the conventional job. So maybe now it will become more prevalent with adapting to the times, because the mindset of the conventional route might be dying down a bit.
I think it's also culture. Culture sometimes, does play a root. Culture, and I'd say religion, depending on a person's upbringing. Culture, religion, and society, we are a byproduct of our upbringing, depending on what your background is. If you come from a conservative family, a religious family, and all that jazz, and it shapes that thing. What I will say is that what I think is important that we need to start teaching the kids, not just the kids, but also just the greater world, is we need to start offering. It's wild to me why we don't have critical thinking offered in schools. Kids to be able to now start asking questions all the time, challenge. Why should it be like that? Why is a degree that important? Why
At least I don't know how that conversation would go down now, but I know when we were in school, you could never ask that question. They would just be like, you have to get a degree.
Yeah.
You want a job?
Do you want to be
degree.
successful?
Yeah.
If you fail, you're going to be a failure. That's what we were raised, being bashed into our heads. You fail, you're a failure. Why? No. It means you tried.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
look
not
at
a failure.
business. Do you see, if you get a gig opportunity and it falls through, that's not a failure. It doesn't mean you're a failure as a person. It just means, okay, that's an opportunity to learn from it and move forward. The same way failing a math test when you're in grade 9 is an opportunity to be like, okay, well, why did I fail? Maybe I didn't study hard enough, or maybe I'm actually not, allocating or listening in class. Like, that doesn't mean I failed. I'm a failure.
Yeah.
It just means that maybe I wasn't doing something right and I can learn from it. That's why the word fail or like a E or F, whatever, is such a bad thing,
grading,
actually. Yes, they should tell kids, you didn't pass, but you're not a failure as a person.
My teachers believe that, like, I'm going to have a tough time either getting a job or holding down a job. Reason being because, bruv, I could never shut up. God damn it, I spoke so much. And the issue with me is that I spoke to everybody. You couldn't put me in a position in any way in the class. If you're sitting like at the back, like, the back row kids always speaking too much. So that, like, okay, Max, come sit in the front. To a point where the teacher, even some of my teachers would put my desk literally by their desks. Right? So that then I can't have any of the other kids like next to me, and I can't disrupt, because I was always disrupting the other kids while they were working. And all that ends up doing is that now I start talking to the teacher, like, ma'am, how are you doing? Are you good? I see you changed your hair today. It's like, because I could never shut up. I was so restless. And because of that, they believe that, like, no,
You're
he's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
This is a problem child, But now, in that same breath, that's juxtaposed by the fact that I was actually like, as in a well-functioning kid. Because now I was, my academics were I was getting A's in school, but also I was talking that much in class because I never believed in doing work in the classroom. Didn't believe in that. It's like, no, classroom is where I get to see my friends and everybody else, and then we're gonna talk. And then either way, whatever, because it was always the rule, what you don't finish in class becomes homework. I'm gonna have homework either way. Might as well do it at home. And that was what I believed. And I could, because now I couldn't learn with other kids around. So majority of my work happened when I was at home, and then I could actually go through the textbooks and make sense of it and understand it, and then go in to write my tests or do whatever else that I needed. But like they believed like I was gonna be a problem child, and it'll be difficult for me to hold down a job. Little does anyone know, let alone I knew, because this is before I found acting, that like no, it was actually like a precursor to me becoming the individual that I am. That yes, maybe I'm not meant to be on a desk.
And do
or
you
answering
think, and
phone
that's
calls.
also what's understanding is, if you had a different schooling system, the one that was maybe more tailored to the actor in you, could you have been a better actor, or did what you had as a schooling, the conventional schooling route, bring out more of your ability to act?
Oh, it did. It did. I went to an art school in high school. It was Randfontein High School. So I don't know if they still do it, but it was compulsory to pick an art subject to be in that school. That you can pick your subjects, but then one of them has to be an art school, and they were very specific. So they didn't do a whole arts and culture thing as a subject. So from grade 8, you could specifically pick whether you wanted to do music, dance, design, art, or
Drama.
Drama. Yes.
Did you do drama or music?
I didn't take any of it.
Okay.
I didn't take any of it. So I only discovered the artist in me around grade 9, because I didn't know I wanted to be an actor. I just knew that I couldn't play with other kids well, but I always spoke a lot. But how I got into drama, when I got into Randfontein High School, I went there in grade 9. I made friends with a gentleman by the name of Garabo Caleb, went by the name of Caleb. She was a dancer, mime artist, and comedian, and an actress. We became good friends. Now I say he because at the time she was trans. She's trans. But now this is before. I mean, she didn't change anything as yet, but she just identified as he. So I just called him by he. It was quite interesting. So because of that, I was bullied a lot. So coming up,
Because you're friends with him.
that yes, and also because for a large majority of my life, to this day, actually, people somehow firmly believe that I'm gay or think that I'm gay, just because somehow I'm comfortable in my masculinity. I don't need to define it or perpetuate it that like I'm a man, why? So yeah, I was friends with him, and I remember they had rehearsals in the hall, and I'd go to watch like rehearsals like for the school play that they were doing. And my drama teacher at the time, Mr. Gotsa was his name, would always kick me out of the rehearsals. But now in assembly, he'd always encourage the other kids in the school to come and watch the drama plays, come and watch the rehearsals and all that jazz. But I was always kicked out. So I was always singled out. And I never understood why. At the time, I didn't understand why. And then, because I was so fascinated by what they're doing on stage, it was fascinating to me. And then there was a point where he was like, okay, if you're so fascinated, then join drama. I was like, no, I don't need to join drama. Because now I also didn't, at the time in high school, I wasn't fully myself. I hung out with the wrong group because I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to stop being bullied. And so I always felt the need to show that I'm a guy. So I hung out with a lot of the other guys, and I'd listen to hip hop music with everybody else. And I put up this whole max. I created this whole different max so that like I'm okay. But when I go home, it's me and fucking Evanescence and Avril Lavigne and all that jazz, where I could just, be myself. So I didn't want to join drama as well, because I didn't want to add on to the bullying or the teasing of, oh yeah, look at him, he's the gay one that's doing, and because I hated it, actually bothered me, and I didn't want to do it. So he's like, okay, if you're not going to join drama, then get out. He kept on doing that. So every time I would bunk class with the other kids, not because I wanted to, but I just wanted to be accepted. Yeah. When we'd bunk, he'd let the other boys go, and I had to go to his office. This was like, and it built a lot of hate in me. Like, why is this man picking on me? To a point where he asked for my mom to come through, right? So my mom went into school and she told him, like, yeah, you have quite an intelligent boy, and he's quite interested, and he's very talented, and he just doesn't know it. And I want him to join drama. He wants to join drama, but I don't know what's stopping him and all that jazz. And then I eventually took it out that, like, yeah, I'm being bullied in the school, but I also didn't want to be that kid that, like, you're going to go and snitch and all that, because it's just going to add on.
Yeah. And isn't that fascinating, is when we're young, we see the drama kids, let's say it's a male drama kid, and then, like, as you say, people say, oh no, that kid's gay. Or they will see the drama kids, be like, no, that's a loser or a nerd or an outcast. But who are the people 99% of society is looking up to now? Is the actors and the people on TV. So it's just interesting as a kid how, and I definitely think it probably just boils down to, you see someone being willing to be vulnerable and to be outspoken and to just express themselves creatively. And you kind of are not like, no, I'm not brave enough to do that, so let me bully that person.
It takes bravery.
It does.
It does. It takes courage, a lot of courage, just to be yourself. Let alone to be out there. You're not even trying to make a spectacle, or you're trying to be the buff Jess or the whatever and stuff, just to be yourself. We're so afraid because of, I don't know why mankind has this weight on our heads and our shoulders of caring what other people will think or what they will say. And when you're younger, and worst part, when you're a teenager, that's all you think about. Is what your other friends or what other kids are going to say. Your entire life is dictated by what are the other kids going to say. The way we dress, think about it. When we were kids, from the way we dressed, the music we listened to, the things we did, we wanted to follow trends so that we're not the odd kid. Because if you can't do it, and we even put pressure on ourselves and our families, like maybe, you remember Heelys?
Yeah.
The amounts of pressure we had to have those shoes when those shoes came out.
I remember I didn't get Heelys because my dad was like, I'm not spending that much money. I got serial killers. Yes.
Yeah, I remember those. And dude, oh my goodness, I remember I went to a state of depression because obviously my mom couldn't afford these things. And she's like, no, I'm going to get you the SK ones and we'll get them in downtown Joburg. It's like, no, not a fuck. I want to be the kid. Every other kid has the Heelys. Why am I supposed to come with different ones?
Yeah.
And I wasn't a kid. And when you, it's so funny when you look back at it and just see the things we put ourselves, our families, and everything around us through, just all in the name of being accepted or not standing out, like it's a bad thing.
And I think
to be an individual.
Yeah, and that's what's nice about becoming an adult, is looking back when you were a kid, how your mom said no to something, or they made a certain decision, your parents would say, maybe don't do that, or maybe that's not the best thing for you. And then you look at your parents and be like, you know nothing. You don't know what it's like to be a kid.
Yeah.
You're just trying to, put me down. You're trying to push me aside or whatever. And then now as parents, as adults, you look back, I just want to give my younger parent a hug and be like, thank you for raising me. Yeah, I'm sorry for just being a punk kid.
When we'd cry, like trying to get like a chocolate, when you're doing shopping with your mom, and that also grocery stores do this strategically to put all the snacks by the tills, because while you're waiting there, now you're seeing all the Kit Kats, Mark, can I have that? And it was this little sentence that I remember laughing with my mates about, because I only understand what that means. Where's like, can I have that? And it's like, no, but it's like, Ma, it's like, it's 3 rand, it's nothing. Look at how much this whole thing is. Like, that 3 rand is nothing. And then you look at it now, where now that you're paying your own way in life, and you realize the importance of every little cent that you have, where you're like, okay, dude, I can get a coffee. What's a coffee? About 28 rand, $30? How much would that throw you out of your budget if you're constantly buying coffee every single day? Like little things
and
like
then
that,
your
where
mom
it doesn't
was
look expensive.
breaking her back to feed you and support you, and you just see it as, mom, it's just 3 rand. Come on, can't we get it?
And you don't understand that, that it's that 3 rand plus that, plus this on things that we need to pay for, So we also learn those values much later on. But yeah, so how I found drama, then eventually you spoke to my parents, and then you eventually told them that, like, yeah, listen, this kid is talented and he has all this. And then he's like, give it a month. Give me a term. Join drama for a term. See how you feel. Then I joined it, and that was literally the beginning of me becoming an actor.
No looking back. What advice would you give yourself, like that younger version of yourself that was scared of the judgment, scared of the ridicule? You know, what advice now as an adult would you give yourself? Even if you're giving yourself advice now, the next time there's some venture that you're afraid of, like what would you say to yourself to get yourself just be like, you know,
Stand your ground. Honestly, stand your ground. I've done a lot of things in my life. A lot. Things that worked out for me, things that didn't work out for me, things that I'm really not proud of. But I don't regret anything. The negative were necessary as much as the positives to make me and shape me into the individual that I am right now. The only thing I regret in my life is never being myself sooner. The only thing I ever regret is it's that, like, that not being able to speak your mind. Not, and I'm not saying it in the sense of like be an asshole about it. You know, when people are like, yeah, I say it as it is. I speak truth. That's why people don't like me. And they use that as a definition to being assholes. Like, don't do that. Yes, speak your truth, but not at the expense of somebody else. You know? But I'd tell my younger self, like, yo, stand your ground, man. Because now you'll learn very quickly who is actually there for you. Because then we learn these in the hard times where you think that your circle or the people that are with you are genuinely with you, yet half of them are plotting against you. Half of them are literally playing a hand to, like, you know, not having you get to where you're at, or they're helping you with a bitter taste in their mouth. Or when you actually do need them, now people have excuses on, "Ugh, yeah, listen, dude, I'd love to come and help you out in that thing, but I have this or that, you know, and we learn the hard way about that, you know, and for me, I remember that the hardest pill to swallow was when I started becoming recognized as an actor, you know, when I started joining like popular TV shows and being recognized and all that jazz, where then a lot of people in my life, in my early career, were just there because of who I was. You know, it was just no longer the Max, now it's Max the actor.
they
You
just
know,
want to
where
be known to be
there's a
friends with
title
you.
next to Max. I'm still Max, man. You know, being an actor, being a musician, it's a job. Just like everybody else has a job, just like a petrol attendant, just chartered accountant, a doctor, a garbage collector, whatever. We all have jobs
You're as
that
much as a
all
person
serve
as
the
you were
same
before
purpose.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To give us money so we can fucking live our lives. That's that. You cannot be defined by the work that you do. You know, you are defined by you, the choices you make, your morals, your ethics, your views, that define you. You define you. But I can't be like you are this person because you're an actor. That's you literally shaming an entire industry that, like, then all actors are like that. Not why, you know? So I wish I had the strength to listen to the music I wanted to be who I was, to speak my mind, to be strong enough to say no, or these are my boundaries. And it took a while. It only started actually, I'd say even recently, like I think just before lockdown. So it's not like it all ended after high school. And because I tried to redefine myself in varsity. It's because it's a new space. Nobody knows me. I'm in a completely different environment and stuff. So I can start over. But all I did was I started over with the same shit.
And was it maybe when you just accepted everything and you're like, yeah, well, that is, you know, these traits that I have, they are my traits, or my interests are my interests. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna show the world these traits that I have, or I'm gonna be my authentic self. That people, because I'm maybe not trying to put on this manly persona, will maybe perceive me as gay or perceive me as an outcast because I enjoy acting. Was it like just that? What was that realization, or how did you come to that realization? Where it's just like, well, I'm gonna be myself, and whatever the world thinks is what the world thinks.
It came with. So I have a weird relationship with death. In a point with that I constantly have thoughts of suicide. Never do it. Never, I'd never do it. It's fun to think about, but I wouldn't do it. But in that same breath, if death was presented to me, somehow, like in a situation, something was happening, I wouldn't fight to prevent it. That's where I'm at.
But I think that's a healthy space to be in, because I've had times where, like, let's say you're in an airplane and it's like, imagine this plane had to crash. I'll be like, okay, well, if I die, it's okay. Like, I've lived my life. I try to live my life as best as I can every single day. If I had to die today, I die today, and that's okay. And, I'll have no regrets if I did have to die. So I think those kind of things where you're in a dangerous situation or in a situation where death could occur, it's not maybe you shooting yourself, but it's, okay, if I do get shot, fine. I live my life.
It's my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's when accepting that like, okay, death is all around us. You can go at any point. I have a lot of people talk about, especially when I got my bike, that like, yo, dude, those things are death machines. They're death machines. You're going to die on those things. I was like, yeah, but there's more car accidents on the road every day than there are motorcycle accidents. It's like, yeah, but because not that many people drive bikes. So what? How many people are dying on the roads from hijackings, from muggings, from corona, from diseases, from cancer? Why are you looking at one thing to think that's what's going to kill you? Bruv, you can live the healthiest life. It doesn't guarantee you longevity in life. It doesn't say you're going to live until 60 just because you're eating right, you're not drinking, you're not doing drugs, you're not whatever. Every day you do the best that you can do to live and enjoy the day and the life that you have in that moment. As for tomorrow, anything can happen. And I was realizing that like anything can happen to me at any point. And I started fearing that. I'm like, but if I'm going to die, am I really going to die never having have been myself? The guy that I know I am, the person that I know I am. I'm only that in the confines of my own space. And then I'm going to die with nobody knowing who I truly am. Because that means everyone who's going to speak at my funeral will be talking bullshit. Is that really a life worth living? Yes, I understand the fortune of the fact that and I call it fortune, that I'm doing what I absolutely love. Because not many people have that. The fortune of knowing from a young age of where I'd like my life to go. Because not many people have that. There's people in jobs and in careers that are doing shit that they genuinely do not like. And it's killing them little by little. There's people living for the weekend. Monday to Friday is a write-off for them. Literally. Then they're just living for that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then from Monday, it's almost like they're on autopilot. How are you wasting that much of your life?
It's a sad reality, yeah.
You get me. There are people who are alive but are not living. Like, that saying.
Yes.
And it scared me. So I started having to actively, and to this day, it's not like I've gotten it right. It's not like I'm always myself. It's not like I'm always speaking my mind, and I'm always courageous enough to speak what is within me, and stuff. But every day I'm trying, and every day I have been trying, and I'm okay with that.
I think that's all that matters, though. It's that effort to be yourself, because there's no way to 100% in every instance maybe not care what people think or not care about judgment. It's not a possibility to always be carefree in the sense of, well, this is my passion and I feel like this is my mission in life, so I'm going to do it, because there's responsibilities in life at times. There's people at times that you need to look after. But I think that constant effort to try be, the version of yourself that you want to be, as opposed to the version that you need to put on to the world to feel accepted or to be accepted.
Yeah.
Bro, thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I like your jewelry, bro.
Oh, appreciate it.
You can see you're a musician. The hat, the jewelry.
Just try to be as stylish as I can.
Awesome. Well, you're pulling it off.
Appreciate it, man.
Sweet. And thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.